Hi, and welcome to the weekly predictions based on astrology for the week of January 31st, 2022. In terms of the stock market predictions, I did post my predictions on my blog at lossunga.com this past weekend, and my predictions were that Monday and Tuesday are going to be down days. Then Wednesday is going to see a reversal from down to up sometime by the afternoon. And then Thursday and Friday do look like more sort of positive, optimistic days with the market going up. Now, I am actually recording the video on Monday afternoon, so I do see that, in fact, we did have quite a significant rally, especially for NASDAQ. And I think that if we already are having fairly, positive to optimistic reaction already on Monday, then in fact I think Thursday and Friday are looking even better. Tuesday may still see market going down, as I mentioned, and Wednesday again I think there might be a reversal intraday from morning to the afternoon, which again I think from Wednesday afternoon, Thursday and Friday things look even kind of more auspicious, more positive for the markets. And as far as why I think on Monday we actually saw an up movement, even though I predicted it being down, I think it's probably has to do with this ongoing kind of background influence, which is Venus trining Uranus. And of course, Uranus has to do with things like IT, technology, power companies, electric vehicles, anything that's like innovative, high tech, involves electricity and involves basically technology. And Venus, of course, brings improved value to those areas. And I did mention in my ongoing predictions that pretty much from the 22nd of January through about the 5th of February, those will be the areas that we will indeed see either improved circumstances or improved value. And of course, this Saturday on the 29th, Venus turned direct. And there was another, sort of helpful energy to have this direct Venus trining Uranus. And so again, these specific areas, again, related to like high tech, airspace, innovative kind of technologies, batteries, chips, computers, etc. Those areas should indeed see a boost in their value and either increase profits or some opportune circumstances where perhaps a company can introduce a new either service or a new product, and that will be perceived as something that's favorable and successful, and then again will be with us through about the 5th of February. Let's see. And another influence that we have sort of also is ongoing, and that started on January 14th and will again also be with us through about the through the 4th of February, and that's Mercury being still retrograde, and that is associated with various like delays in travel, problems with communicating, problems with reaching agreements, where if say an agreement is reached during Mercury retrograde, or some like a sale is contract is signed, or again there's some agreement reached once Mercury turns direct, that particular agreement or sale or some conditions of a sale, for example, can be then rewritten, revised, and basically that's why one of the reasons why it might not be the most auspicious time for entering into against important contracts, for example, under Mercury retrograde. But basically, through about, like I said, the 4th of February, under Mercury still being retrograde, we may expect continuing delays like what I've seen in the news. There's some real chaos on like JFK airport, for example. But generally speaking, again, the time where there just is a greater probability than usual for miscommunication, for things kind of being taken out of context, for there just being some unexpected delays in travel or, luggage loss. It's just kind of a greater probability of these things, coming up. Or if there's a contract, then again, some adjustment may be needed later on to some details, or some details may be missed. Or if there's some, requirements put forward for like a project, again, those requirements will likely be revised. Again, that's not an unusual case, I guess, but it could be just, again, kind of a more severe revisions or things just kind of not going to be put into place kind of correctly just yet until, again, Mercury turns direct on the 4th of February. Also specifically regarding crypto, this transit that I just mentioned of Venus trining Uranus in Taurus, and Taurus of course has to do with finance specifically, and Uranus brings this energy of like something that's digital and is kind of again based on some high tech or requires high tech to function. So again, this is actually on a sort of a small scale of just some days, basically again from the 22nd of January through the 5th of February, and especially after the 29th of January, once Venus turned direct. Under this trine, we can expect again some favorable circumstances for just cryptocurrencies or digital assets in general, and or anything that's based, maybe like a some financial service that's offered online, or anything that has to do with sending money, again, say through mobile banking, or anything to do with, again, shopping online, exchanging goods and value using some electronic means, for example. All of those areas, again, may see some improved conditions, improved value. Maybe, again, Venus is moves around the sun obviously fairly quickly, so it's not going to last for a really long time, nor is Venus going to by itself make things go into like some crazy rally. However, it is overall an auspicious influence, and again, it's more likely that cryptocurrency values will receive some boost. Again, not a crazy rally, but will receive certainly a boost. I did see specifically Bitcoin from the 22nd of January through the 31st did go up like 3,000, and again, I think through about the 5th, especially now that Venus is direct, things may look up again slightly better. Nothing dramatic, but just slightly better for now at least. Let's see, and again for the US through the 31st, through Monday, there's still this important influence of basically Mercury passing over its Pluto in the US chart, and so there's still continuing increased probability of there being some important decisions made regarding financial policies, taxes, insurance. So the companies in those areas or any entities that deal with, again, or are responsible for establishing either rates or some sort of parameters that have to do with basically financial institutions, there may be increased news about someone going either negotiations or coming up with some sort of strategy, or indeed there being sales or contracts that involve financial institutions, especially and governmental entities. I specifically didn't see that mentioned in the news, other than, of course, ongoing expectation of kind of a Fed, raising rates, etc. But again, this just may be something that I'm not as familiar with, and or it just hasn't necessarily come up again for the general public awareness. Let's see, for US also specifically, yet again through the 4th of February and starting on Monday, the 31st of January, and especially with the influence peaking 31st on 1st for the US, there's an increased probability of a focus in the news on various like laws, legal requirements, judges, like ambassadors, diplomacy, foreign relations, long distance transportation, travel, tariffs, basically requirements for import, export, etc. So all of these kind of long distance travel, transportation, and relations with either other countries or some sort of requirements that, again, especially affect import, export, or conditions, under which people or goods can be, moved across the border. And similarly, anything that has to do with like judges, lawyers, or ambassadors, those kind of news may be featured in the news more than usual. And specifically, there may be either some arguments about those areas, accidents related to long distance transportation, for example, something to do with like things overheating or going too fast. Similarly, if there are new laws or anything to do with like new legal requirements, there might be either upsets over those or arguments or something that, again, may not be quite be seen as helpful, and many people will feel angry or upset about it. And or indeed there may be some laws or requirements or regulations that are related to things like firearms, for example, or to any chemicals that are specifically used as explosives, something that needs to be regulated so that it doesn't, I guess, do harm. And or there may be, again, some new regulations or requirements that govern things like sports, for example, or hunting, anything to do with like risky activities. And those, again, may see increased sort of either regulation or something to do with discussions with international partners, again, involving maybe like a deal or some contract that involves, again, sports, hunting, firearms, even military, and either movements across long distances or being regulated as to how such maybe a sale or shipment or import-export of such goods should occur, and again, some legal judgment that kind of regulates that more specifically. And that's for the US. That's again through February 4th, but especially peaking right around 31st and 1st of February. Another influence that is also specific to the US from about the 18th of January through the 2nd of February is, yet again, there may be some improved circumstances for long distance travel and transportation. And again, there may be some just either legal requirements that may change and govern those to try to kind of improve conditions in those areas, and or there just may be increased news coming up about, again, legal regulations as to who can travel, under what circumstances, what should be the tariffs on something, and just going to focus on this international sort of relations area, as well as moving goods or people across long distances. And again, that's for the US, and through about, like I said, 2nd and through even 4th of February. This is like general sort of underlying theme where certain events may be occurring more than usual. For China, from about the 14th of January through the 6th of February, this is not a very auspicious time in terms of international relations. There might be increased problems or tensions with partners, and the disagreements of various kinds, and the disagreements or arguments may involve either technology, aerospace, IT, some electronics, like batteries, any parts or any services that are needed for those areas to function. And there may be concerns about basically about some capacity basically to produce those, or indeed China may like withhold the sale of some of those parts, for example, or indeed it could be just due to simply an inability to manufacture sufficient number of some of those or deliver some of those due to shipment problems, for example. But there's some either tensions or anger related to basically partnerships and agreements, either related to sales of such products or to inability to supply such products. It could be an intentionally kind of withholding those products, or it could be, again, due to just some problems with, say, shipments, or again, so basically things are either delayed, or there's some problems with producing them, or they're intentionally withheld. And at the same time, again, this is through the 6th of February for China, there's increased probability of there being some just tribulations that are related to either like an earthquake or restructuring or some large corporate or governmental entity, again, undergoing some changes in either leadership or, again, restructuring to address losses, to address some sort of damage. Again, and it will be more likely related to, again, like either telecommunications, like energy companies, batteries, electronic vehicles, transportation that involves like air, so sort of like drones or airplanes. So again, any high-tech sort of equipment or products that involve electronic component to them, those will be, again, there might be some either problems, again, with manufacturing those, or some problem like, say, an earthquake that may damage a plant that produces those, or just simply arguments with partners about selling, producing, or delivering those. And again, this could be due to delays, say, in shipment, an ability to reach agreements about the conditions of a sale, for example, or literally like just China actually withholding those or putting some brakes on the number of, I guess, items being produced for whatever reason. Like I said, Wednesday may see a reversal, and I think this time it will be from down in the morning to up in the afternoon. But regardless, I think this might be a day where we may see a different direction in the market from the morning to late afternoon, especially towards the end of the day. I think the energy looks a little bit more positive to me, and this will continue into Thursday and Friday, where things to me look more kind of optimistic and hopeful on Thursday and Friday compared to early in the week. And then specifically globally, 3rd through the 5th of February, and especially sometime on the midday on February 4th, there may be some increased focus on globally on some leaders or governmental like leaders or leaders from large corporations that are related to like IT, telecommunications, high-tech, airlines, airspace, social media, electronics, energy companies. So again, related to like Uranian energy, of somebody who's innovative, sort of on the edge, very clever, with a lot of like neat ideas. And again, this could be a government leader, could be somebody like a head of a large corporation. And there we may hear about some long-term projects being proposed, or a new perhaps leader who is, again, if such a leader is announced, chances are they will be sort of in power, or they will be in their position, remain in their position for a long time. And at the same time, the purpose of this project might be like, I don't know, a new way to travel, not to travel, but maybe a new electric vehicle like service or network of, I don't know, some stations or support centers, or a new even currency or some sort of support like network, something that has to do with this large project that again may take some time to build, like an infrastructure almost like project, or maybe a network of some support centers, but something that requires large effort, that again requires maybe either support from the government or involvement of one or more sort of multinational companies, and or maybe like an online platform or platform that involves, or rather is used for cryptocurrency exchanges, or something that's like a launch of a new project, a new platform, a series of some sort of support centers, and or there could be an appointment of a leader to sort of oversee this. And again, whatever starts right around this time, it could involve some advanced technologies like producing maybe some technically advanced parts, building vehicles, supplying electricity, providing cloud services, exploring some, maybe like asteroid mining or something along the lines of it being high sort of involving high technology. However, also requiring organization on the level of large corporations and government, because it will require a lot of effort. However, there's a good chance it will be successful long term. However, it may also be highly structured and highly regulated, because again, for sort of this machinery, by machinery I mean like corporate basically entities and or government to be like involved, it has to kind of be built on the solid ground. Things will be maybe moving slowly, but it will be also more kind of controlled, and at the same time it may, if built solidly, it actually will probably have success long term and will be here to stay. So that's again 3rd through the 5th of February, especially sometime midday on the 4th is we may kind of hear such announcements. So let's see. And also, of course, on the 4th is when Mercury will turn direct. So again, announcements right around that time ideally are done after it actually turns direct, and that should also help bring some more optimism, enthusiasm, and kind of improved things for transportation and communication industries, where if there are delays in transportation, now they will start kind of easing off, like roads may be opening, flights, resume, or, if there are contracts that were pending, some negotiation or some revisions, now they finally can start kind of coming together and moving forward. The faster, I guess, the Mercury starts moving in the sky. And then after that, starting sometime this Saturday, so the 5th of February through about March 16th, so for some weeks to come. Globally, there will be increased focus on things like regulations of weapons, gun sales, weapons deals, and especially involving something to do with like airborne, not vehicles, crafts, drones, rockets, anything that basically flies or uses energy of, I don't know, wind energy, for example, could be another like windmill type structures. And or there may be also regulations that involve, like I said, sports or hunting. So basically anything to do with Mars. It could even be surgeries that involve like sharp objects or address wounds that are sustained from some burns, cuts, and things like that. So those areas may see some either increased scrutiny, regulations, but there also may be a lot more kind of movements where maybe more sales are made, perhaps in anticipation of things being regulated, or perhaps regulation is such that allows things to now be sold. Maybe there's a negotiation between some corporations or international partners, and now the deal goes through. And it could involve, again, from just like actual weapons to equipment that is not necessarily a weapon. It could be like an aircraft, but it could be used for like various, I guess, like purposes, like military purposes. But it could also be involved with like sports, hunting, so like athletic equipment, race cars, just even exchange or, contracts with teams or athletes. And again, more likely to do with anything that's like kind of a risky and dangerous. So racing, even like bike racing, anything where there might be a chance of injury, for example, or an accident, or like fighting. So there may be announcements or maybe regulations of like how people can fight, again, to try to maybe prevent injuries, or there may be increased number of like, if there is, I don't really follow this, but if there's like a major event that's like a sports event, there may be increased interest, increased ticket sales to those. And also value and profits from those areas may also rise, especially the riskier the sport, the more kind of a dangerous, kind of a risky daredevil type of activity, the more it may see either on the one hand some scrutiny in terms of regulations, but also there may be increased focus on kind of, again, contract sales. It could be contracts for, teams, attracting new athletes, for example, or it could be just increased interest in attending some events where maybe there are some famous athletes are featured, for example. Let's see. And other areas that also may be important sort of in the news at this time, so the 5th of February through the 16th of March, would also yet again include Uranian areas, so it's like IT, telecommunications, airlines, electronic vehicles, batteries, as well as cryptocurrencies or some digital assets in general. And so those areas may also see increased news, and especially around February 7th through 10th, and then February 23rd through the 25th, there may be increased or surprising news around those areas. So again, IT, airlines, telecoms, drones, rockets, flying aircraft, airborne weapons, but also like strong winds. It could be not really something that's a weapon, but rather if there's like a tornado or something, obviously that's a damaging type of situation that involves high speeds and something that's airborne. So those could cause either, again, there could be like a sudden attack, for example, an accident that involves an airplane, or a strong wind, kind of a storm, and that may lead to sudden service or power outages, a surprise like rocket strikes, drone crashes, or malfunction of an aircraft, or even, like I said, if it's a windmill, there's some outage or some problems, and again, it's surprising, sudden, unexpected. If it's related to cryptocurrencies, there may be a sudden service outage or sudden fluctuation in value, which again are unnerving. And again, that's February 7th through the 10th especially, and February 23rd through the 5th especially, but really through about middle of March is where there's this increased probability of, again, either like accidents involving some flying sort of objects or vehicles, stronger than usual like winds or storms. And again, those are not going to be ongoing for a long time, but something that just pops up unexpectedly does some damage and kind of then equally suddenly disappears, or there's some sudden volatility in the markets for cryptocurrencies, or some concerns about some platform having some service issues, and then again equally suddenly it's fixed. Let's see. And if there are these storms, chances are they will be not as much associated with snow, for example, or precipitation in general, but more likely to occur where maybe it's dry weather actually, and they may actually cause fire. So it's more associated with actually, again, problems with just high winds, damages and fires, and or something that's flying, like a flying object, like a rocket strikes, or something that obviously is an airplane crash, something that crashes to the ground and suddenly it's an unexpected situation and it causes some damage. And again, it does not, more likely than not, it will not be involving like precipitation or water, basically, rather somewhere where it's dry, or the water will not be playing an important, I guess, aspect there in terms of facilitating such a situation. So that's it for me for this week. I hope you found this useful, and come back and check me out next week. Until then, have a fantastic week. Good luck, everyone.